The 10 biggest money mistakes to avoid at all costs. Society has it completely backward, totally wrong, especially when it comes to money. How to make it, what to do with it, how to keep it without cutting back. If you don't know how to avoid the myths, the misinformation, and the seductive stories that separate you from your money, you have to rely on luck. I guess you could marry into wealth, win the lottery, probably not going to happen, or stumbling on the right investment by accident. The strategies and philosophies we learn in school, from well-intentioned friends and family and salespeople posing as advisors, it robs us of our wealth, our peace of mind, and it chips away at our quality of life. Look, when I first got into finance, there were the stories I was told. Max out your 401k, get a good job with plenty of benefits and you'll be set. Even worse, when I chose to go into finance, I was peddling mutual funds and life insurance way back in 1998. More than one person told me to go buy a really nice car and home so that I'd be motivated to sell and look the part. Think about that advice. Sell, not get results, not think of the customer, but to motivate myself and even deceive the client by looking apart through debt rather than production. Have you ever seen the movie Boiler Room? If so, you saw it all there, right? That's a story about robbing people of their money, being blind to the value that's created or destroyed because the goals are egocentric, devoid of a relationship, not something to consider the client or the client's outcome. And it really encourages debt that creates urgency and stress on whoever's selling the products. Work hard, pay those bills. Who cares if you're doing what you want or doing good, I guess? Are these ideas really the American dream? The key to happiness? The act as if, fake it till you make it, subtle lies? That's what creates mistrust. It's misaligned with the client's best interests. Now, the focus here is to get beyond what those type of people are telling you and build a philosophy that will serve you, save you money, allow for a better lifestyle, and not create unnecessary risk, stress, or sacrifice in order to live a better life. Not all the advice I got early on was bad advice. As a matter of fact, it was some caring and more clear people that gave me the framework to see the limitations of most plans, philosophies, and the financial institutions' agendas. So over the last quarter of a century, I've narrowed it down to the 10 biggest mistakes that people make when it comes to money. The first one, not paying yourself first. This is about creating automation, taking a percentage of your income, and every time you make a deposit, have it go to a separate account. I call it a wealth capture account. Pay Yourself First, written by George S. Clausen, was the richest man in Babylon back in the 1920s, still valid and even more important today. If you pay yourself first, you don't have to scrimp and save and sacrifice. You don't have to budget your way broke. You don't have to wait, to enjoy life till one day, someday. You automate it so you can take all that energy into being productive rather than restrictive or reduction. All right, so pay yourself first, because that's the biggest mistake, is people don't pay themselves first. The second mistake people make is they trade their time for money. All right, so I remember working at this marketing ally, it was called, when I was in college. We get up early on Saturdays and Sundays and work an 8-hour shift, me and my roommate, and I'd be like, dude, even if we worked all week and never took a break, this still wouldn't really provide us much money. And a lot of times when people get deep into debt, when people are unclear about their purpose or what fulfills them, or how to scale their skill set, they choose the wrong career because, well, there's a paycheck. But trading time for money isn't the key to wealth, definitely not a key to fulfillment. And it's a key to being busy rather than being fulfilled and productive. So don't trade your time for money. Think about value creation. Think about leverage and scale, in that you can reach more people or more deeply impact the people you reach, or collaborate or partner with people, and consider value as the core tenet, and then dollars will follow value. The third biggest mistake here, consumer debt that creates pressure and urgency. Right? Like that story I started with, where they're like, oh, just get a really nice car and go get a really nice home, and then you'll be in debt, and then you'll be forced to work. Oh, that sounds great. So now we have all this pressure and urgency. It stifles creativity. It destroys our ability to be present and enjoy life. It creates stress within our relationships. See, this is where people spend optimism. Maybe a business owner has a good month. They're like, oh, next month will be better. So they go buy things that are on credit, and now they have to make a payment, and that doesn't always go better each and every single month. Or maybe we just want to keep up with other people. We think that our stuff makes us valuable, or it makes us more seductive or attractive or sexy or whatever it is, right? So we try to keep up with the Joneses, because that external validation starts to become like a drug, and that dopamine hit of buying the next thing. And see, when we put our value in things rather than people, or when we put value in our stuff over ourselves, that is going to create consumer debt that leads to pressure and urgency. All right, so the first one, not paying yourself first. That's one of the biggest mistakes. Number two, trading your time for money. Number three, consumer debt that creates pressure and urgency. And number four, maybe a little bit more controversial here, diversifying before focusing. See, diversification becomes diversification when people spread themselves thin. They get involved in more than they even understand. They're not sure what's going to work, so they keep buying more in different things, or they have more than one mutual fund and it's not as diversified as they think because it's holding some of the same stocks, or it's all based upon stocks or growth stocks. So protection is the foundation. Handle that first. That protection comes from education, proper insurance coverages, basic corporate structures if you're a business owner, and asset protection over time. Build that foundation and then focus on your growth. Focus on your investor DNA, on what you know best. Diversifying before you build your foundation actually has risk. So use investments and invest in investments that cultivate or maintain the right mindset for you, because you want it to be economically viable and work, but also have peace of mind because you're your greatest asset. So ultimately, don't overly diversify before you focused on the ways that you best produce value, that you could best earn money, that you could best serve others, that you could best solve problems, that you could best scale your abilities. If we diversify outside of things we know, it creates ignorance, and that ignorance creates risk, and risk confiscates wealth. All right, got a little excited on that one. Number five, speaking of risk, the fifth biggest mistake is gambling and speculating rather than investing. There's this whole notion of what's your risk tolerance. Risk tolerance is stupid. Sorry, that's just all it really is. Like, oh, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much risk are you willing to take? Or 0 to 5? Oh, I'll take a 5 because I think risk equals return. Then you lose money. You're like, oh, that sucked. Nobody really wants to tolerate risk. We want to manage and mitigate it. See, risk management is intelligence. It is an intelligent action. It goes back to what I mentioned before, investor DNA. It's your core values. It's your core competencies. It's really what you're going to focus on based upon those values, those competencies, and what drives you. And then its risk is in the investor, not the investment. What kind of investments are good for you? Become a better investor. Know the value proposition of all your investments. Value proposition is, how do you win? How does whoever you give the money to win? And how does it impact the marketplace? Look for those triple wins, because options trading is gambling. You know, one person wins, another person loses. Get out of the zero-sum game. Think about the things that you want to invest in because you want to learn about it. You're educated in it, and you have some level of know-how, even if you build a team to support you. All right, number 6. Big mistake is when people accumulate instead of build cash flow. Cash flow can create economic independence. Your assets create cash flow on a regular basis. That covers your expenses. Now you're economically independent. Accumulation is wait for 30 years, build a nest egg, and then maybe you can live off the measly little interest, and it might be taxable, and you have to get taxed out of that. And then you might have inflation in the future that starts to confiscate your purchasing power. Accumulation is a slow, dangerous program. Focus on cash flow so you have more freedom sooner. Then every active dollar you earn can build more assets and exponentially help you grow, versus taking 10% of your money, trying to earn 10% on it, and then hoping for the best over the next 30 years. All right, number 7, thinking your best investments are outside of yourself. That's a mistake. You are your greatest investment. Invest in your skill sets, your knowledge and know-how. Invest in your relationships. Invest in the people, processes, and procedures that allow you to do what you do best. Invest in an ability to deliver more value, to serve more people, to solve bigger problems, to engage in a fulfilling way the things that you want to learn. I've invested in becoming a better writer, a better speaker. Those types of things are skill sets that allow me to communicate and then teach the very things I'm talking about here today. Number 8, here's a big mistake. Thinking a salesperson is a planner. I was 19 years old telling people I was a financial planner. I was just selling mutual funds. There was not a lot of planning going on. I wasn't helping people get their estate plan in order. I wasn't doing asset protection. I wasn't looking at risk mitigation with the investments. I wasn't looking at tax efficiency or ways to go back and amend their tax returns potentially, or change their corporate structure to reduce their taxation, or number of things. I was looking at, hey, buy this mutual fund and hopefully it's going to work out, because it was the 90s and everybody's mutual funds was doing really well. That's a salesperson versus a planner. A planner is going to look at how you plug your financial leaks. They're going to look at your comprehensive structures around, do you have the right car insurance, homeowners, liability, disability, medical, life insurance? Do you have your last 3 years amended if you missed anything with your taxes, and a current year tax strategy? Have you chosen the right corporation? Are you paying yourself properly out in that corporation? They're looking at, Have you mitigated or lowered risk with your investments and created downside protection? Remove fees that would actually harm your overall returns if they're non-performing fees. These are what a planner is going to look at. A salesperson is going to sell you a life insurance policy, or they're going to sell you a mutual fund, or they're going to sell you a 401k with mutual funds inside of it. So don't get confused about that. Number 9, the mistake is people confuse rich and wealthy. When we think that we have to sacrifice everything today for one day someday, well, that's not being wealthy. Maybe you have more money and you're rich, but rich and wealthy. Wealthy is a state of mind, a state of being, and it comes in 5 different tracks. There's 5 tracks to wealth. Money's part of it, but so is your purpose. So is your mindset. So is your health and well-being, and so is your social life and enjoying life along the way. So finance, soul purpose, mental, physical, and social, those are the 5 tracks of wealth. Having depth and intention in those versus being rich is having a bunch of money. But if you're always in scarcity, what good does it do? If you have no purpose and you feel lost, is it really that helpful? If you don't have your health, what do you have? Do you still have your wealth? See, rich versus wealthy, that confuses and gets collapsed by people, and they chase money at the expense of wealth. Number 10 is a big one. You are responsible for your finances. You're responsible for your money and results. Don't think someone else is going to care more about your money than you do. Don't think there's a magic product there where everyone would buy it and there'd be lines out the bank to get that. Invest in yourself. Take responsibility for your finances. Don't just rely on advisors. Utilize them. Have knowledge, make choices, and then create that efficiency by having the right team around you. Now, let me go through and review that really quick. Not paying yourself first, mistake 1. Trading time for money, mistake 2. Consumer debt, that's mistake 3. Diversifying before you focus and build wealth with focus, mistake 4. Number 5, gambling and speculating rather than investing. Number 6, accumulation over cash flow. Number 7, thinking your best investments are not yourself and outside of yourself. 8, thinking that a salesperson is a planner. 9, confusing rich and wealthy. And number 10, not being responsible for your finances, right? So if you go to garrettgunderson.com/freedom, for 5 days, you can have my financial freedom course for free. You can unlock 4 different modules to help you to understand what I'm talking about here, how it applies to you, and get to the solution. Now, if you've enjoyed this video, if you want to know other lists of like ways to avoid mistakes with the bank, or the things that you do to plug financial leaks, or the different types of expenses, whether it's 3 things, 4 things, 6 things, if you're the type of person who loves that kind of stuff, go ahead and click on through to the next video, and I'll see you there. Hey, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. And if you're enjoying these videos, well, there's good news. More where that came from, so go ahead and click through and watch the next video now.